Hello there everybody, welcome back to another Lost Ark video. It's Topical Tuesday, which is the video of the week's this series where we go over the top posts on the subreddit. Again, look man, this gets people interacting with the Reddit, the community. If you want to see certain types of content, interact with the Reddit more. I don't pick what gets posted or pushed to the top. I just look at what gets posted and pushed to the top, and we talk about it. The main thing this week, though, is going to be this kind of video here. I'm actually recording this on Monday, just so I have this ready for 5 p.m. on Tuesday. I'm sure nothing crazy is going to happen in the 24-hour period before this gets posted, so I think this will be the most, large content piece that we're going to be talking about, and it's a Korean video that got posted by, I believe it's Memorizer. I'm not going to go over the video itself.
Packages.
Excuse me for blowing your fucking eardrums out. It blew mine out too, but for some reason it links to this part of the video. But briefly touching over, this is like an Invin post. Invin is like the Korean Reddit, essentially. And this is an Invin post by, I want to say, one of the Korean streamers, not Memorizer, but Memorizer's is touching on it, I believe. Either way, I'm not entirely sure if it matters who really posted it. At the end of the day, the things that they're talking about essentially boils down to problems that the game has had since its inception and will likely continue to have until the game no longer ceases to exist. Because these are like fundamental problems with the design of the game and the way that the company is designing the game. And the reason why for a period of time I was like hopeful that like the Western Lost Ark would change things for us for the better. And like they have for sure, don't get me wrong. But I mean, like, here, let me reopen the video. I apologize if this... Okay, I was going to apologize if it blows our ears out again. But essentially, they mention here, like, Western gets good stuff comparatively to Korea, but it's, like, not even enough, right? Realistically, it's not. Regional discrimination is what this chapter is called. That's fucking hilarious. Basically, Korea definitely gets milked the most because it's culturally more accepted in just that culture in general, right? Which is why you see more monetization of games just in general, right? Over there. And that's why I was more hopeful when Lost Ark came to the West that it would be more altered, but AGS is not a good publisher. And Smilegate also doesn't give a shit, truthfully. I mean, they're a company, they're designed to make money. Obviously, they're not going to give a shit unless it is relevant to their bottom line. And improving the game's playability is generally not conclusive to making the most amount of money, so generally these things don't get touched, right? And I think a lot of the issue comes from problems that are fundamental to the game, kind of like I mentioned earlier. And what I mean by this is a lot of these problems that we have right now existed 3 years ago, okay? And I've been kind of... Excuse me, got a H2O res. I've been kind of saying this for a while, but essentially every new content cycle is the same issues, and every new system is essentially the same issue, or issues, just reimagined, right? Honing to hit certain item level breakpoints has always been an issue at a certain point, right? It's usually not an issue at the start of a tier. Towards the end of a tier or the middle of a tier, it becomes harder and harder to hit these certain breakpoints. Honing nerfs don't come fast enough. There's not enough honing support. Gold usually is an issue at some points in there, whether it be gold generation, inflation, bots, RMT, whatever it may be. All of this shit was a problem when the game came out in our version. All of this shit is a problem today. Like, that's what I mean when I say essentially fundamentally nothing has changed. And it's interesting to me to see things like this, because it's like, I don't want to say sensationalized, because it's not, but I guess it's just like a whole subsect of people waking up and noticing that the game is not player first, money second. It's money first, player like last. And this has always made me laugh too. The top comment, a repeat of what happened a year ago or whatnot. Game is in a bad state. Director says changes are coming. They do okay changes. People are happy, and then the same thing happens all over again. Which is funny to me because, generally speaking, the LoA ons don't do much. I still remember like a year ago they said they were going to do support improvements. What did they do? They added supporter medals? Is that it? I mean, I don't know. AGS has done very little for the return of the bots. I mean, they don't permaban for RMT or rule breaking. Like I said, it's not just a fundamental problem in our version. It's more of just a fundamental how the game is made in their version, but for our version, we have the additional problems. I mean, I'm sure it exists in Korea too, but to a much lesser degree. Mostly because it's harder to do it, since it's my understanding that you need an SSN to get an account, and an SSN is much harder to obtain than a trusted Steam account. But I guess this is all to just say I don't really know what people expected. And I mean, I guess it's because even the whales are struggling on these new raids. Like, you have to be like a giga whale now to overgear this shit. You can't just regular whale, or dolphin as they say. But, I don't know. It's interesting to me now how everyone seems like they give a shit about these problems and almost act as if these problems are like new, when these problems have just existed the whole time, just in different forms. Yeah, current game balance is fucking awful. One of the nice things Amazon did do, I agree, is the Frontier system. That's 100% correct. Frontier system is really good, but it doesn't overshadow all of the other issues, and I'm not even talking about the fundamental game issues, but yeah. Always funny how Korea needs like a whole year to realize how garbage their current systems actually are, but to be fair, that explains how and why Koreans just love to eat up shit like all these lazy predatory beta and gacha games. Oh man. People complain about shit systems and balances and expenses. We'll drag it out as long as possible, staying dead silent. Emergency live stream, we hear you, we messed up, etc. A few months of nothing, half-hearted changes that barely address anything. People will go see that you care. LoA on coming up, introducing the next shit system to squeeze money. New class and a poorly designed raid. Yeah, I mean, that sums it up. But this exactly is what I'm trying to get at. This is just the bread and butter, like, rotation. And it's like I mentioned in one of my videos where I said I was taking a step back from Lost Ark because I wasn't happy with the direction of the game in our region, and I wasn't excited about the future of the game in our region because it honestly is kind of depressing. And once I stopped caring, you just stop caring. I don't know. At a certain point, you have to realize none of this shit is going to change. And I know people will always say AGS is just the publisher. This is correct, but if you look at things like... okay, there's two different things I want to point out here. One, obviously, Tencent is a publisher for the Chinese version of the game, and their version of the game is generally from what I see, especially from the things that get cherry-picked and posted on the Reddit, is generally well-received by the Chinese player base, so that's good. Second thing is, I want to point out AGS's entire game directory and history. All of the games that they've, one, developed, and two, published have done fucking horrendously. And they've fumbled the ball repeatedly. You look at New World, that's their self-developed game. Dropped the ball about 75,000 different times. Throne and Liberty, they published. Again, launched really well. They did the old whoopsie-doopsie, kind of fucked around, found out. My point is, yes, publisher can't control every single part of a game, but also a publisher can do more than AGS is doing, and I don't know. It's like a push and pull, and they're not pushing or pulling. They're just kind of standing there. And after a while, you just kind of give up and you move on to a different game that you have more fun playing. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. When the balance between pay to win and free to play is unbalanced, you have this type of situation. Yeah. The problem mostly arises from when the accessibility of the actual game itself is impeded by trying to get people to spend money, which is why I always say Korean games are typically money first, players last, because monetization is the thing that they prioritize, and the people that play the games in that culture typically accept this as just like a normal, so they typically don't not play the game because of that. But it ends up hurting the quality of the actual game itself. I don't know. There's like nothing else really for me to say. It's just the same thing over and over. Jesus, I've already spent 11 minutes talking about like basically nothing. I don't know, man. I don't pick the things that get posted, man. I don't. Here's another post about it. Like I said, this is pretty much the only thing that's been talked about this week. This is the Reddit, or not the Reddit thread, but the Invin thread. The Reddit thread of the Invin thread. But it's just mostly the same diatribe, making content for the top 5% of your player base and being surprised why everyone's leaving. Yeah, no shit. Oh, here's a nice bullet point summary. Oh, this is good. Poor communication, lack of support. LoA on event, they failed to address key concerns, gold economy issues, player retention, DPS balancing, transparency. All three of these things, like I mentioned, have been problems since the beginning of the game. And they've been problems throughout every stage of the game's life, right? That is a perfect example of exactly what I mean the problem is. The problem that has existed the whole time, you know what I mean? It has, and at a certain point you have to step back and be like, yeah, this is probably not going to get fixed anytime soon, so I should just enjoy the game for what I can get out of it, and if it stops becoming enjoyable, I just have to find something else, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I did. I don't know, man. It sucks, too, because I know, strange couple comments that I would always get that was like, oh, you just hate the game, so quit playing it. I really don't, and that's the thing that, like, frustrates me, because I do really enjoy the game, but at a certain point you have to stop hoping for the game to get better, and you have to realize that the game is what the game is. The company makes the game what it is. And the publisher also takes part of that, too, because they're not going to stand up for, you know, their players. Like I said, the publisher is supposed to push and pull, but they're just doing neither, and they're just kind of standing there taking it. Well, they're not taking it, we're taking it. And the rest of the stuff is mostly just posts about Brel. Brel is kind of difficult, but we kind of knew that. The biggest problem with this game is RM tiers. Another thread, huh? Please do something about the RM tiers. I just want my time spent in this game to mean a little bit of something. Yeah, RM tiers have been a massive problem the whole time. One of the things that discouraged me a lot while progging last week was disparity in power levels between classes fueled with RMT. Yeah, that's definitely true. I was in a lobby with a 17-cent soul leader who had Relic Grudge, Relic Keen, Relic Raid Captain, fully red with 8 level 10 tier 4 gems, and the rest level 9 tier 4 gems. That means he invested approximately 42 million gold in just gems and engravings alone. What about the cost to hone or accessories? How many weeks of weekly income would a normal roster of 5x 1660s and 1x 1680 main take to reach the same power levels as this person's one character? The worst part is he shit on half the lobby for only doing 95 million DPS. Anyways, RMT class disparity in the power grab is so crazy, discouraging to play classes that don't get a big of a glow until T4 arc passive. Who didn't get as big of a glow up from T4 arc passive. I think once more people look at it in this light, it seems fucking absurd. And I think the argument that always gets used here is you don't need these things to progress. Which is absolutely true. You're 100% correct. You do not need this stuff to clear content. But the way we're progressing, it's getting to a point to where these things might start being expected. And not even expected, but like almost necessary. Especially if you're playing classes that aren't, like, you know, good. Because I think on our clear pull for my Brel, like I said, I mentioned when I talked about my Brel clear in one of my other videos, I think it was Arconomics last week, or this week. Last week, I guess, technically. We didn't have any, like, super juiced characters. Like, everybody was pretty much... I think our highest eye level was, like, 1700. We didn't have any plus 25 weapons. We have no level 10 gem whales. It's just a group of gamers. Honestly, I think I'm one of the shittiest geared people there, to be honest with you. And I'm in full 8s, LOS 30, I have one low roll on every accessory, I have a decent bracelet. But, like, I'm probably the lowest geared person there. And obviously I'm not playing perfectly, but I think I played pretty well on our clear pull, and I think I just pulled over 100 million DPS. And on our best wipe pull, I think I was literally at 100 mil DPS. So on our clear pull, I was slightly above 100 mil. On our best wipe pull before that, like, we wiped at 0 bar, like, fucking, I don't know, she was at 2 health bars maybe. We fucking died to enrage, and I think I was at about 100 there. So, I mean, assuming my hands get a little bit better and I get more comfortable with the fight, maybe I could push to 110 with my current gear. Maybe. But that's like barely pushing the DPS requirement for this current raid, right? So I don't think it's ridiculous to assume that if this raid trend keeps going like this shit is not just gonna be like, oh, it's 42 million gold, but it's all stuff you don't need. It's just a, I want, not a need. This shit's gonna start becoming a need, and that's gonna be problematic because the gold investment, or the gold acquisition, is not scaling as quickly as the cost of these things. And that's what I've been saying pretty much every Arconomic since Tier 4 dropped. The price of shit is ridiculous. But I think a lot of the price of this shit is ridiculous mostly because of RM tiers and gold selling. But again, there's just so many different problems that I don't know how you fix them. I don't know. I don't know, man. Anyways, I think that's enough doomerisms for me. And that's not to say I don't think you shouldn't talk about stuff like this. And honestly, I think content like this is good. Truthfully, I do. If you want to see change in a game, constructive posts like this stuff is good. This is how you get people talking about stuff. And this is how you facilitate changes. I just mostly mean for my own mental state, because I've, like, checked out of Lost Ark, essentially in that way. I'm definitely in the camp of, like, whatever happens, happens. I can't influence it, so I'm just along for the ride until the ride becomes a little too bumpy, and then I'm out. Which sucks, but hey. Anyways, didn't mean to ramble too long. Hopefully it was an enjoyable, I don't know, session for you, whatever the fuck you were doing. Maybe you're doing a Guardian raid, maybe you're doing a raid, maybe you're doing a Chaos Dungeon. I don't know, man.